Welcome back to another episode of Creatress of Freedom. Oh, I'm so happy you're here. Yay! Welcome back, welcome back. If you are a newbie here, oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that you're tuning on in. If you are an OG, oh my gosh, I love you. Thank you for showing up again and, spreading the love as well. So I love you so much. I can't wait to delve into today's topic. So let's get started, shall we? So today's topic is actually inspired from a conversation that I was having with one of my private clients around leadership and around management. So if you have a team, this is a great conversation for you to tune on into, because I don't think this is talked about enough, right? And I would only teach on something that I've been through myself. So been here, done that, and I think it's a really important conversation that we actually have together, right? So what I want to talk about is this particular client of mine came to me, and she has recently stepped right off the salon floor, and in order to, continue to make sure that everything still runs nice and smoothly, we decided that a manager would be the best solution for everything to be systemized and to stay the way that it needs to. However, what happened was the other day she came to me on our private call and she was like, "Oh, I'm feeling frustrated." She's like, "I just, I walked into the salon on Monday morning and it just looked like a bomb had hit it. Like none of the cleaning was done. I just don't understand what's happening." And, like the girls, I didn't work on Saturday and the girls on Friday, they were closed for the long weekend. She's like, and I was so annoyed and I'm really frustrated and I don't understand why this is happening. And anyway, I let her just go, because that is her reality, right? And we don't ever want to take away someone's reality for what is happening for them. And so as she was sharing with me, I listened, and she's like, "Oh, it's so hard. And I just feel really frustrated because I feel like every team meeting, we go over the same things over and over." And she's like, I don't know. I don't know how to get through them. What am I doing wrong? And I said to her, "You're not doing anything wrong." And she's like, "Well, why is it not working?" And I'm like, "Well, it is working. But the thing is that you have to be patient, because not only are you learning a whole new level of leadership, leading an apprentice in hair and beauty, depending on which part of your industry you're in, versus leading someone to step into a manager role is a whole different ball game, right? It's a whole new level of skill that you need to learn in order to support. But the other piece of this as well is that your staff member is also navigating that as well, right? They're learning a whole new skill set too that they've never learned anything about. They've never been taught any of this. And so this is also very new for them too. And so everyone just needs to have a little bit of patience when they are navigating what this looks like, right? And I said to her, "You're doing amazing. You need to cut yourself some slack. It is going to take time." And this is something that I see all of the time within the hair and beauty industry specifically, is that business owners they promote their staff, or they hire a manager, and they think that all their problems are going to disappear because they've put someone in that position, and that person now does all the delegation. And that's not actually what happens, right? Because they have to learn how you want things to be done. They have to know what the expectations are. And you actually have to train them in order to step into this role, especially if this person has come from already maybe working for you as a qualified or as an employee, and now all of a sudden you've promoted them into a manager's role. That's a whole new different skill set. And they don't really understand what is involved in that level of responsibility, that level of role, right? And so it's your responsibility as a leader to actually show them what this role looks like. And my client was like, yeah, but I've got all the checklists and I've got everything. And like, I don't understand what's going on. And I said to her, okay, and how well are you following up on the checklist? Like, if you've got all these systems in place, are you consistently staying on top of them? Because what I'm hearing is that you're saying that you're frustrated that these things aren't being done. But then you're also telling me that there's a checklist in place. And if you were following up on the checklist to make sure that she understands that these are a priority, then you wouldn't be feeling frustrated. So this shows me that perhaps there's a part of you that's also not stepping into this level of leadership too. And she was like, oh my gosh. She's like, that makes so much sense. I'm like, yes, because we can't just have all of these systems and just like throw them at the staff and just expect that they're just going to pick it up like that. It's not going to happen. They're learning new skills. And that's not going to happen overnight. If you think about, all of the years of experience that you've got to get to where you're at, think about the trials, the tribulations, the failed attempts, the staff that you've had to let go of, the staff that have left. Like, all of those things have had to happen in order for you to be in the position that you're in right now, for you to have this level of skill set. And that's exactly the same for you putting someone on as a manager, and also for your manager to step into this new role. And so as we were having this conversation, we were chatting about it, I could see her eyes like lighting up. She's like, okay, yeah, like this makes sense. And I said to her, like, really, when you put someone on in a position that is being promoted, we really have to make sure that we are hand holding. And I know that that is annoying, and I know that that is frustrating, but we're playing a long-term game here, right? And if we look at this staff member being with you for the next 5 years, right? Let's say that the next 5 years, this manager is in place so that you can focus more on the business side of things and continue with the development of the growing and perfecting lots of different things and putting new systems in and maybe hiring more staff and all of that. Then the hand holding might need to be between 3 to 6 months. Now, I know that that seems like a crazy amount of time, right? It's like, oh gosh, like 3 to 6 months. I don't have time to do 3 to 6 months, but we're playing long-term game here, right? You're not going to have this business and let it go in a year's time. If you're looking at having this business as a legacy, then really 3 to 6 months is really not that long of a time when we look at it from a timeline point of view, right? Like, if you're watching this actual recording of the video, you'll see that I have like 2 hands up. And, it's like this time frame is 5 years, and literally like not even an eighth is the 3 to 6 month period, which is really not that big in the big scheme of things. It's really not that much time in the big scheme of things, right? But what happens is most salon owners will go and put staff on, but they will continue to work on clients. And this is why they don't have the 3 to 6 month period of the hand holding for the staff member, because they're still focused on doing clients. So they don't have that time to train. And I'm just going to say that if you do not have the time to train either a new staff member that's coming on or someone that's being promoted into a new role, then you should not be putting them into that position, because that's not fair on the staff member. That you are just giving them this expectation that they should just know what they're doing, that they should just pick it up easily, that they should know that in the corner there is hair that's left, there's cobwebs sitting in the top left-hand corner of the salon, that, the till shouldn't be left in the money shouldn't be left in the till, right? Like, they don't know these things. They see things through a very different lens to what a business owner sees things. And the quicker that you can understand that, the quicker you're going to understand why you need to have the time to train your staff. And so these little things were coming up. She was sharing with me, like the towels were done. Like, she's like, there was hair everywhere. Like, the benches were filthy. Like the front desk was not organized. All these things. The stock shop wasn't stocked back up. And I said to her, I hear you and I understand you. And I know that leading a team is frustrating, right? But they don't see those things that you're seeing unless you have specifically pointed those things out to them. And she was like, well, it's funny you say that, because, I had the apprentice that was working with me that day. And she said, I happened to pass a couple of comments like, oh, I can't believe it. Like you can't see this. And she was like, oh, I didn't even see that. And she's like, I was like mind blown that this staff member like wasn't even seeing it. And I was like, no, I'm not, because that's what happens, right? That's what happens. They don't see things the way that we see things. And that's why we have to train them to see the things that we're looking at. Because when you're going from an employee, you're literally coming in, you're doing your job, you're going home, you're getting paid regardless of whether there was enough money that came in for this week, right? Like that, the responsibility of knowing how much money came into the salon, they have no idea. They do not care. All they care about is that every single week on time, their payment comes into their bank account. That's it. That's all they care about. But when we are shifting them into different levels of leadership and different levels of role responsibility, that's up to us to help them see that. And so one of the things was like the cleaning, right? And we were chatting about that, and I said, you know, do you have a checklist? And she was like, yeah, I've got a checklist. And I was like, okay, does the checklist like actually get ticked off? And she was like, well, yeah, I think so. And I'm like, you think so, or you know so? She's like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, well, this is where I'm talking about you following up on these things. And so I was explaining to her, inside my containers, there is a specific framework that is like a checklist, essentially, of like the morning cleaning, of the afternoon cleanup, the evening, and you know, like what day the bins go out, like all of the operational stuff that needs to happen behind the scenes. And I said to her, something that I did in my salon that was really, really helpful was everyone had to initial what tasks they had done. Because yes, you might have an apprentice, or you might have a trainee that is maybe needing to do those jobs, but overall, like it is a team effort, and everyone should be working together as a team. And so I said to her, this is where you might need to speak to your manager and say to her, okay, this is our checklist that needs to be done every single day. And as a manager, it's actually your responsibility to make sure that you go over this and make sure that you're holding everybody accountable uh, for getting the morning cleaning done, right? We'll use that as an example. And I said, and then what I also used to do is people would have to initial the task they had completed. And what this does is that eliminates your sneaky apprentice. I can only talk on this because I've been there and done it myself as an apprentice. But this stops you from ticking the checklist off when maybe you didn't even do the task, right? And I never got away with it ever. I remember as an apprentice, our boss would we'd have to do the waiting area, and so you'd have to move all of the chairs. You would have to sweep, you'd have to wipe the windowsill, then you would have to mop, and then you'd have to buff it dry, and then you'd have to move everything back. And you know, you would think that he was not watching, but he was always watching, and he would wait until there's a little bit of a power trip here, but he would wait until you completely put everything back and you thought that you got away with it, and then he would say to you, did you do XYZ, right? And you'd be like, yeah. And he'd be like, well, I didn't see that you know, wiped the windowsill, right? And then you're like, fuck, he's right. I didn't, but I was trying to get away with it, right? And so this is where if you have a manager in place, like you have to train them to start to observe those things, right? Because if you go to the back room and all of the morning checklist has been ticked off, but yet you know that the benches didn't get wiped, you know that the toilet didn't get cleaned, you know that the salon didn't get a sweep through. If you know all of that, then you can address that, and you can either, as a manager, you can then bring that to your boss and be like, yeah, so the checklist was ticked off, but nobody actually did do any of the stuff that was done. And then this is why putting initials on it actually helps to see who is actually doing the tasks. So if you have a big team, this is really, really helpful because you're seeing who's a team player and who perhaps just wants to kind of forget about doing the team playing stuff. So it's a great little tool and exercise and framework in order to keep the operations of the business running nice and smoothly. And so as we were having this conversation, she was like, oh my gosh, like this makes so much sense. And I can't believe that, like, yeah, she's like, yeah, like I was frustrated, but she's like, I understand that this is going to take a little bit more time. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like, it is going to take time to lead your team. Like, everybody's learning new skills right now, and it's going to take that time to imperfect and to perfect things. And the thing also that I want to touch on, that I also shared with her as well, is that when they do step into a manager's role, sometimes it can bring up all of their stuff, right? Because if they have been at playing level field with the team, and now all of a sudden they've been promoted, they often don't want to, they want the promotion, right? But they also don't want to be seen as the bitch, or the one that's always nasty, or the one that's like thinks they're better than everyone else because now they're in a manager's role. And so whatever story they might have constructed in their head can often stop them from, delegating or from pulling other staff members up. And so this is why it's really important as a leader that you also help navigate what might be coming up for them. And this is where feminine leadership is really important, and you need to ask the right kind of questions to really see how this staff member is coping with this transition. Because something that I see all of the time is that managers want this new role, but they also don't want the responsibility that comes with the role, right? And that can leave them feeling like they're no longer a team player anymore, because they've hierarchied themselves and made themselves feel like they're not a part of the team. And they don't want to be that. They still want to be a part of the team. And they can still be a part of the team, but there is a level of respect, a new level of respect that does need to happen. And this is your responsibility as a leader to make sure that you are guiding them through that process that might also be happening for them. That's most likely on a subconscious level. They would probably not be aware of it, that they don't want to be a team player, or that they want to be a team player, I should say. So it's really important for you to keep an eye on those things as well, so that you can help navigate that and also help them break through any mindset blocks that they might have, or limiting beliefs that they might have, where they feel like they can't be the friend of the staff and also be the manager and do the delegation and pull them up on things when things weren't actually getting done. So it's really important that we also keep an eye on that too, because if the staff member has come from outside of the team into a manager's role, that's a different scenario. But if someone has been promoted within the business where everyone was at equal playing field, then that can also throw the dynamics off of the team. And so we want to just be mindful of that as well. So overall, what I want you to take away from this conversation that we're having today is that you must take the time off the floor with clients if you are wanting to put new staff on, or if you're wanting to promote people into different roles, because it is your responsibility as a leader to actually train and lead your team in feminine leadership, right? Not masculine leadership where you just throw them in the deep end and you're like, just do the job and I don't want to hear about it, right? Like, that's not the type of leadership that we step into. We really do step into that feminine leadership where we are here to support and nurture and really help them step into this desired role that they also want to step into. So if you do not have the time, or you're still heavily booked out with clients and you're not willing to shift out of that role, then please do not promote staff into higher roles or hire more staff, because that is so mean and a disservice to the staff member that you're trying to put on, because you have this expectation of them that they are not going to be able to uphold, and that's not fair. That's not fair on the staff member at all. So please, 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 if you are looking at really learning how to lead your team properly, get some support, get some help, get the help that you need so that you can step into a new level of leadership. And then you can also help your team also step into their level of leadership as well. And you'll see in the show notes, there is a few different ways that you can come into my space if it feels aligned that you want to learn a little bit more around that from me. Otherwise, there's always other people out there, but do yourself a favor and get yourself into some kind of container that allows you to learn these skills so that your team can flourish, and so that you're not feeling like the team is a burden on the business, because you are only as good as the team that you've got, right? Your business will only grow as far as the quality of the team that you've got. And the quality of the team that you've got is really based on you being able to lead them in feminine leadership. So Evolve is a great space for you to come into. There's a hands-on coaching inside Evolve for specifically for salon owners. It's a 12-month mentorship. The other option is Ignite Your Salon. It is an online program, so there's no hands-on coaching in that. But if you are just wanting to get through some self-paced, then there is some content in Ignite Your Salon. But it really depends on what it is that you're looking for. If you need someone to kind of pull those blind spots and kind of guide you and navigate different conversations that you can have, then I would definitely consider looking at Evolve. You'll find in the show notes as an application form, or you can come and shoot me a DM on Instagram or Facebook. We can have a conversation about if that feels like it's the right fit for you or not. Otherwise, the other option is private mentorship as well, which is obviously a lot more hands-on, a lot more dialed in support, because you have me to yourself essentially rather than a group setting. So if that feels like that's something that you want to start to lean on in, then yeah, I look forward to opening my DMs and seeing you in there and asking some questions. Have a beautiful day, and I will talk to you so soon.